So I mean, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me because like she's not a. If it was like Ilhan Omar that Biden was considering in terms of like just how much the establishment hates her, like it seems like that would like I would expect a lot more pushback. I would expect a lot more heat coming her way. But
Well, I think the problem with
Bass
Ilhan
didn't seem
Omar
like such
being
a polar. Yeah, but I'm not saying Omar should be, but like,
oh yeah, no,
and I'm
yeah,
not saying
just
like,
saying,
I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I mean, it would be awesome, but it would like
I
that's
don't know
a
about that, though.
fantasy
I think
world
that
where
she
like
polarized
unicorns and
a lot of people though. If
yeah,
she
yeah,
was
yeah.
elected.
I would love to have her in the White House, but like obviously that's very much not a reality. But like she just did not seem like someone who's like this surprising to see. It's really surprising to see such kind of pushback from against Karen Bass from people in the administration. Also, I have heard there's been like legitimate pushback to Elizabeth Warren, both from the fact that a lot of people have been pressuring Biden to keep pick a woman of color, especially Amy Klobuchar when she dropped out, and second of all, the donors on Wall Street don't like Warren at all, as well. So
Yeah, well, that definitely is noted. I think what Biden really needs to look at is what morals is he trying to get out of this decision? Is he trying to go with someone who puts a mask on their face and, to say the least, is kind of an a-hole, or is he going to go with someone who has a proven record of really delivering for the people and really representing people in a very good way? I like Warren. I support her for the presidency because I thought she would have been a good candidate. I think that a lot of people like her because she sticks up for people and she delivers on her promises. I mean, she puts the consumer finance, consumer first in regards to any type of finances, also in regards to getting ripped off by banks. I mean, she was one of the main reasons why, I think it was the Bankruptcy Act, right, that she got passed in 2015, I think. Then they mentioned in the debate briefly. Warren got some bankruptcy bill passed in the Senate. And that was definitely a major stride for her because that was during the time when
and she
a lot
was,
of Americans,
which was directly kind of contradictory to what Biden was doing as well. Like they have had direct policy contradictions that have kind of squared their whole entire careers, which I find to be very, very interesting, and probably something they'll be asked about and will be definitely a tension play throughout. But I think it would be a good way of appealing to the left. I mean, I guess probably the best thing you could do to appeal to the left, although Elizabeth Warren, for what she did to Bernie, is deeply unpopular on the left. So, I mean, if you actually want to show you care about the left, I mean, I guess the best you could do would probably be pick Warren, even though that wouldn't be that good. But Biden, as we know, does not want to show he cares about the left wing of his party at all. He's
well, I
much
don't know
more
about that. Though.
What?
I think that's a little bit false also because he made a lot of concessions on his plans with the left. I mean, look
Nah.
Bernie Sanders is also on his PAC though. Not PAC is on his committee for
His committee for what?
yeah policy committee.
His policy committee on what?
His policies, like what Warren is. Warren
not
is a
the
policy
ones that they
advisor.
did with like AOC and John Kerry about like climate
No,
change
no,
and
no.
stuff.
No, not that one. No, Bernie was on the one for the economic recovery that Biden was trying to tout.
Yeah, I mean, he could put all these people on all these committees as much as he wants, but like, look at who he really surrounds himself with. Like, look at like Larry Summers is advising him. Like people, like he's not going to be any kind of like progressive. And the stuff that the stuff he put, like he couldn't even put legalized marijuana on the platform. He couldn't even put Medicare for all on the platform. Like those are like it's just not a progress. It just shows you he's making no effort to appeal to any sort of like progressive base at all. I mean, it's just the campaign he's going to run, so White House is going to be, and he's going to face a lot of resistance from his left. So I think it's just going to be a reality of some of the things we're going to see from the Biden presidency. But
I mean, I think public option is a good way to go for healthcare, right? Because if you really want to follow Denmark and these other countries that Bernie quotes, a little bit, he doesn't really know half the time what he's talking about because Denmark first went with a public option and then they went over to a government subsidized health insurance option, also known now what we consider Medicare for all. But they by no means, got rid of a lot of the private insurance opportunities that Medicare for all would get rid of. I mean, Denmark's prime minister perfectly described it as a mechanism of their quote-unquote Medicare for all, which they considered to be just a government-subsidized health insurance. All they considered it to be was, we have private insurance still here, but instead of private insurance charging consumers, we pay the private insurance companies. And that is what Denmark has. It's not run by the government. What they have is a plan where you get taxed more than what Americans would get taxed, basically, for in the sense of healthcare expenses. And that money goes straight to the private health insurance companies, which have contracts with the government. And yeah, Denmark is a smaller country. They have healthier people. They have less problems. They have a lot less things than America has. I don't necessarily know if that plan will go well for America, but at the same time, a public option will lead us to a path like that, or even actually to a Medicare for All plan, because Bernie Sanders did actually notably say in an interview with Joe Biden that a public option isn't the worst thing. He wasn't advocating for it because he felt like that was an unnecessarily middle ground step that should be taken. Many people disagree. Many people think that with a public option, then maybe people's opinions would change instead of having the Republican parties really energized to get the Democrat out because they did Medicare for All. Yet, a lot of people think it's more of a tactical solution to do public option. It's not like, oh, we want to get more people to die by doing public option. It's more of a tactical solution because if you do what we have now to Medicare for All, we have a large possibility that the Republican base will get energized and say, well, look at this, as they say, crazy socialist, which is beyond false. And then, they could be really energized. Like, look what happened with the Affordable Care Act. The Republicans took control of the House in 2010. You want to know why? Because Republicans didn't like the idea of a freaking public option. What in God's name do you think they're going to be responding to with Medicare for All?
Honestly, like, if you can't do the public, like, they didn't even do the public option in Obamacare, though. Like, that's the funny thing. Like, they didn't even do the Obama because Lieberman really and a lot
they couldn't get it
others.
because of the fact that the Republicans took over.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly on Obama for not really trying to get it passed in the first 2 years, which is a huge mistake. I mean, he also, faced resistance from some of the people in the Democratic caucus. Again, we talked about Joe Lieberman. We were talking about that today. He was elected and was a big person in terms of stopping the. Yeah, in terms of stopping the public option, and I think if we got that in, I think we'd be in a lot different place. I think Obamacare probably would have been more popular and probably would have survived better. And I think really what happens is the GOP made it popular over the past decade, and that is real. I think the ACA, it's not even a very, good bill. It's a Republican healthcare plan. It's designed to still, I think, leave a lot of very substantial problems in place and leave a lot more room for a lot more profiting off of people's sickness and stuff.
Yeah, so, the cost is still a bad problem. They need to subsidize it more. That's kind of the problem.
It's some
of the Affordable Care Act has. It needs to be subsidized by the government. Right now, they're not doing that, and The main thing that Biden was actually quoting with his public options actually was going to go farther than Obama's. So Obama's didn't mention you had to pay more for dental, vision, and hearing, tests or going to the doctor's office. But Biden's plan will have that all covered. You're going to have a full plan. Everyone will get a full plan. It's going to be much more subsidized. And he actually quoted how he's going to do that. He's going to get rid of the capital gains. He's going to tax capital gains, He's going to be finding a lot of new ways to be taxing these major corporations. I think he was going to raise the corporate tax rate. I think right now it's 27% or something like that. I think he's going to raise it 35, 36% is what I was hearing about, which would make, I think what he was quoting, I don't know if that's even correct. I think it's $2 trillion, which sounds like a lot of money, but that might be actually accurate. I don't know. But then that's where that $2 trillion, along with half of the capital gains funds that they're going to be able from taxing, that would all go into the public option in order to subsidize it even more. Because the main problem with Obamacare, it's not like the idea of Obamacare is like an unfinished art project. The person started drawing.
That's a good way of putting it.
They didn't really do the outline yet. They didn't draw the face. They didn't draw the nose. All they have is a circle. And what Biden wants to do, he wants to get into the detail. But instead of just drawing the person, he wants to get the background as well. He wants to get, foliage or something like that. And what I mean by that is he wants to get the full picture. And what I mean by that is he wants to get everyone with a full plan of health insurance instead of just having to pay more for dental, hearing, and eye exams, which, by the way, is kind of a little bit dumb. They have to pay more for something that everyone in their life deserves. And I by no means am against Medicare for All. I think that a public option would be a good way to go first, and then Medicare for All definitely would be go. Look, we could do public option for 1 or 2 years and then go straight to Medicare for All. I'm not saying let's take a 10-year break to do public option and see how it goes or anything like that. I think public option will work great. I think people's opinions will drastically change on government subsidized healthcare. And I think that our public option will turn into a Medicare for all plan after either Biden is out, because Biden is supposedly is going to be a one-term president. And if he chooses Warren, all right, she's probably going to run for the presidency, and she's probably most likely, I'm not saying she's going to win or anything, but in the circumstance she does, I doubt that she wouldn't advocate for a Medicare for all plan, because I believe that in her presidential race she did. I know she kind of backed off about it for her policy advising with Biden, but I find that a little, I don't think that's actually accurate. I think that she backed off of it vocally. I think that she still personally, though, advocates for a Medicare for all plan, in my opinion.
All right, yeah, so I think, Elizabeth Warren, she would definitely not be bad. I don't think she's going to be picked as VP. I think it's probably going to be either like Bass or Harris. I'd still
Maybe
say
Lee.
most likely Harris.
I mean, Lee is less controversial, though. I think that she has a good chance.
Just if you look at the reporting, though, like there was literally a Politico article that was like accidentally published last week that was like, yeah, congratulations, Kamala Harris, you won the VP sweepstakes or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is very interesting. So,
I think even if Warren isn't chosen as VP, though, I definitely do think she'll be in the cabinet somewhere. I do think that he'll choose.
I think that's
for something.
I think that's likely. Yeah. So,
and to be honest with you, I'd rather her be a cabinet member, because vice presidents really don't do too much. A cabinet member does, I'd say, more. They don't have more power necessarily, but I think that if Warren was like, I don't know, Treasury, for example, she'd do a lot more for Americans with, monetary relief, etc. Especially if we have another like coronavirus circumstance where people need money.
That I guarantee you that will not happen. I guarantee you Elizabeth Warren will never be placed in the Treasury Secretary in the Joe Biden administration. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Like, if anything,
I don't know.
The best thing she'll do is
changing quite a lot. Like
over county. You mentioned Martha McSally's Republican primary before. She has won against McCarthy. Not really a surprise there. So
okay, that's shocking.
Yeah. So Maricopa County Sheriff
she's
Joe.
Solicitor General anyway, so there's really
probably So it'll be interesting to see if she'll hold on there. So, Sheriff Joe Arpaio back on the ballot with 0.2 difference. So that's very interesting. Some other races worth checking in on tomorrow: the prosecutorial race in Honolulu, Hawaii. The prosecutorial race in Lawrence, Kansas. Very left-wing prosecutor being elected there, and it's kind of a liberal town in a red state of Kansas, which is it's part of the University of Kansas is in there, so that's a very liberal area. In terms of the 10th primary, it'd be interesting to see if Doglio can win. It's a 19-way free fall, and the top two candidates of either party will move on to November. Of course, William Lacey Clay and Cory Bush. That's a big race that we're looking at still. In Tennessee's 5th, actually, that'll be coming up on the 6th. A public defender who was sentenced to years in prison over a marijuana-related offense challenged Representative Cooper. I think Roy Cooper, that was a former governor, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Roy Cooper is the governor.
Oh, Roy Cooper is the current
North Carolina.
Oh, Jim Cooper, sorry.
I think so. Are you talking about North?
Yeah, I'm talking about Tennessee. I'm talking about Tennessee. Jim Cooper has held his seat in the state's 5th district, which includes Nashville, for 17 years. So she's a long shot against Jim Cooper at the moment. This was published. Yeah, it's published about a few days ago.
Oh, yeah, he's been there. He's been there for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another one that's been marked down as one that's worth watching. So that's coming up in 2 days. But I think if Bush wins in Missouri, that'll be absolutely huge.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think it would be a good I think it'd be a referendum on Lacey Clay.
I think it's going to be a big